Hello, hello, and welcome. How are you? Say hello. So lovely to be here with you. Hi, everybody. Welcome, welcome. How's your day going? Hi, Siobhan. Lovely to see you here. Do say hello. Let me know how your day is going. And let me know where you're tuning in from. It's lovely to be here with so many of you joining. And for those of you that are going to read, for those of you that can have the opportunity to watch this back, I would really love some feedback too. So we're just going to give it a minute or two as people are joining and hopping across from their days into the webinar. And I'm very pleased to hear that, Michaela, your day is going very well. Lovely to see you. And we'll take any questions that you have at the end of the webinar. Lovely to see you, Ruby. Do say hello, everybody that's joining. Hi, Alex. Hi, Carmen. Great to see you. Hello, Jess. Nice to see you. I've woken up in the most fantastic mood today, just to let you know. It's been a fantastic morning, busy. The sun is shining. You are all on mute. Don't you worry about that. Hello, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Great to see you. Hi. I'm so excited to be here with you all. So excited to be here with you all. And I'm hoping that lots and lots and lots of you are fantastic candidates already of CNC or working with us in some way or another, or have had the opportunity to attend workshops or be involved in our development academy before. Okay, great to see you. Hi, Jenny. Hi, Judy. I can't wait to give you all sorts of insights. Hi, Alicia. I'm so glad you could make it too. I'm so glad you could make it too. So I think we are about a minute or so away from kicking off. Lots and lots of you online, which is awesome to see. And I am so open to questions throughout today's session. So please feel free. It may be that we answer them towards the end of today's session, but if you're a pen and paper girl like me, go and grab some paper and a pen. If you're somebody that prefers working on a laptop, great too, but just make sure you've got whatever you need around you so that you can start taking some action notes. And I want this to be a really practical session that's really going to take you from good to great when it comes to interviewing. So I think we'll kick off in one more minute, just whilst we wait for a few more to join. And because we had, I think, nearly 400 of you signed up today, which was just awesome. Absolutely awesome. Okay, well, I think we're ready to go. So pop in the chat for me what you most hope to leave today's session with. What is it that you are most keen to understand or keen to change or keen to have a tool that will help shift something that's getting in the way of you securing the role that you most want? Just pop it in the chat box and let us know. We will do our very, very best to make sure that we cover all of those different areas. Confidence, returning to work after a period of absence for whatever reason. So lots of you are saying confidence. What else is coming up for you? Yeah, what questions, how to handle tricky questions, what's going to make you memorable? Oh, Rochelle, you're already very memorable. Yeah. How not to waffle. Okay. All right. Okay, so I think we're going to cover off a lot of what you've asked and requested today. And one of the most important aspects of going into an interview is, as we all know, it's all about the preparation, but it's a bit deeper than that. And I'm going to help to uncover what that looks like today and really help to give you some active tools that are going to shift you from good to great when it comes to interviewing. Okay, all right. So a couple of you experiencing some challenges that we'll also look to cover too. So pop all your questions in the Q&A box or in the chat if you don't mind other people seeing them. And I'm going to introduce myself. So I have met quite a lot of you already because I've recognized lots of names. But if I haven't met you, hello, I am thrilled to have the opportunity to connect with you. Make sure you connect with me on LinkedIn. And that's where I probably hang out most. And I am the very, very proud founder of CNC Search and CNC Academy. And when we set out nearly 10 years ago, we set out with the absolute purpose to create transformation and deeper impact beyond the search service that we were going to offer. And we are an all-female team of 24. We're based in Holborn. We recruit internationally. And as part of our work and our commitment to that transformation and impact, we are involved in numerous female pipeline projects, very active with the Young Women's Trust. We are on our way to B Corp certification. We're almost there. And so when we say that we are high integrity, we really mean it. Doesn't mean that we can find every single person that we work with a role, because we're still, we're a smaller boutique agency, but whatever happens, we will absolutely commit to adding value through our workshops, through our free training sessions, through our development academy. And this is part of that work. And so I'm really pleased to meet you, and I'm really looking forward to getting to know you. My last 10 years has been a huge journey as building a business. As I was a single mother when I started the company, it was a huge leap of faith. I was solely responsible financially for my daughter. So it was a big leap, but I knew I had this strong sense of purpose about what I wanted to do and how I wanted to deliver it. And the amazing team that I work with now, I am so lucky to have that shared sense of purpose with. I'm an ICF coach, and I am lucky enough to use my platform to train and coach and deliver speech, talks and workshops on a global stage. And I'm ultimately a passionate believer in your potential, in my potential, and in our potential. And I used to have, and I'm sure lots of you have had, a lot of self-doubt, a really strong inner critic. And I don't have that anymore, but I've done a lot of work to get to the point where I have an inner cheerleader, where I have a deep-rooted sense of self and self-belief. And that's because I really committed to going on that journey. And some of what we're going to touch on today, you'll see little parts of my training, and I hope that some of those tools will be supportive. So that's me. That's my big smiley face, and that's my introduction. And as I said, please make sure that you connect with me. Now, you are currently looking for an opportunity in a slightly more challenging environment. Geopolitically, macroeconomically, we know that right now it is not the easiest time in terms of the world that we're currently navigating to secure the opportunity of your dreams. But there is still plenty of opportunity out there, and I'm going to really help you unlock some of that. Now, one of the things that was touched on right at the beginning when we were talking about why are you here today, and even if you're watching this back on the recording, ask yourself that. But confidence was one of the things that came up the most. Now, we're going to share with you, all of you that are watching today, a confidence session that will really help you to understand how do you develop deeper self-confidence, because confidence is an output. And actually where we need to start is with courage. Courage to take action. And the very fact that you are here today is a great demonstration of your courage to do the work needed to secure the role that you most want. So where do we start? So what are the 5 C's of interviewing? And interviewing is a challenge for most people that certainly we work with, because there is a sense of vulnerability when we're interviewing. We are showing somebody our skills, we're sharing our background, and we can feel really vulnerable in that process. We also may not yet have done the work or explored the ability to really own our zones of genius, to really share how we can create impact and influence. And a lot of people that I certainly work with are deeply uncomfortable with selling or sharing those zones of genius. And that's some of what we're going to touch on today. So some of the things that I would love for you to leave is the ability to demonstrate your capability. I want you to feel comfortable and confident in your capability to deliver the very best version of yourself on interview. I want you to be able to leave here really understanding that an interview is a partnership, it's a two-way street, and that your demonstration of concern or empathy for the company, the organization, for their goals, and for the impact they're looking from this role is really key. I want you to be able to own your space in an interview, demonstrating that lovely confidence, which is not about being the loudest person in the room. Confidence actually comes from the Latin word with trust, confide, which is trusting yourself. And I want you to be able to hold your space in an interview or your command because you trust yourself. And I'd love to be able to hopefully give you some tips to enhance your ability to communicate that. And all of those things will help deliver the skill that you need in order to deliver the interview to the very best of your capability. And I always think of interviewing a little bit like dating. Not quite the same, but there are some similarities. And what do I mean by that? Well, ultimately, not every match will be perfect, and that's okay. I would love for all of you to really attach yourselves to the demonstration of the best version of yourself in that interview rather than the outcome. Because although the outcome, of course, is super important, going on an interview involves investment in time, emotion. It involves really giving that person an insight into you and your life. So it feels like there's a lot weighing on them. But actually, if we can shift our focus on the delivery in the interview rather than the attachment to outcome, it will really help shift the focus. And remembering that you are interviewing them as much as they are interviewing you. So it does take skill and it does take practice, and it definitely takes a commitment to doing the work to getting there. But you're here, right? So we're doing that together. And I'm going to give you a few little hacks just to kick us off. So I promised you that this session was going to be super practical, and this is part of that. So the first thing I want you all to start doing is to create a celebration file or a smile file or something in your Outlook or your email inbox. And I want you to, the next time you get a compliment on email or somebody congratulates you or thanks you, I want you to pop it in that file. I want you to build up some evidence of who you are and the impact that you create. And that little file in your Outlook will start to make sure that you have the evidence needed to know the impact that you create. Doesn't matter how small the thank you is or how small the recognition, it all goes in that file. This will start to help to give you that self-esteem boost and also be able to make some references to perhaps some of the compliments or the reviews that you've had in the past. And it can often be a little easier perhaps to reference how somebody else has commented or complimented your work than selling yourself. The next is recommendations on LinkedIn. Reach out to colleagues, reach out to ex-line managers and ask them for a recommendation, asking them to share their experience of working with you. Because then your online presence is already demonstrating and backing up that you are somebody that operates with integrity, that you have capability, that you are committed to delivering impact. The next is a 360 review. Go out again to friends, to perhaps if you've got a romantic relationship, family, ex-workers, and ask them what it is about you that makes you you, and how you show up, and what sort of friend you are, or what sort of co-worker you are, or what sort of partner you are. Because again, this is going to give you the vocabulary, it's going to give you the opportunity to see how others perceive you and the value that you add to this world. Because I can guarantee every single one of you that is here today or is watching this on replay has so much more impact, influence, and value in the world than you recognize. So it's about owning our secret sauce. What is it about me that is unique? What is it about me in terms of what I do that is going to add value, create impact, that this employer is really going to benefit from? And doing these sort of activities really helps to give us a new vocabulary and a new boost in confidence in sharing some of those aspects. Now, one of the things that I work with a lot with employers is confirmation bias. We are not yet in an evolved enough world that confirmation bias doesn't exist. And what we do with that, and I'm going to touch on some of your comments that you're sharing, and one actually thing I think I will touch on right now is that everything I am sharing is purely from my own perspective, from my own 24 years of experience, and probably from interviewing about 30,000 individuals and having trained thousands of people now globally. Don't do anything that you feel uncomfortable with. You are the CEO of you. Do what works for you. Take what advice from today's session is going to work for you and that you feel okay with or feel you can benefit from. Remember that not all of this is going to be applicable to every individual. So if there is something that you do not feel comfortable with or doesn't feel right for you from today's session, that's okay. Park that and take what you need. So this confirmation bias business. So basically, we know that first impressions count. And for me, one of the two ways that is going to be most impactful to the rest of the interview is for you to be prepared, for you to be on time, dressed appropriately, and to be warm and welcoming, and to thank the interviewer for meeting with you. Those are the most simple ways to create a great first impression. Of course, if you're in person, a firm handshake matters. But equally, what we know from psychology, warmth, so a warm smile and a gratitude for the interviewer taking the time out to meet with you, however you wish to express that, is something that can make a big difference to confirmation bias. Because I promise you, you are more than enough. And what can happen with interviews is we start to make them mean something about who we are and our value. They are simply a meeting in time, often which is lasting only 30 to 45 minutes. So don't allow it to make it mean something about you. Use it as an information gathering tool. Use the feedback to help develop and grow you. This, for me, is a great way to prep for an interview. This process. Who am I? So this is your elevator pitch. This is what I do. This is how I do it. And this is why it has mattered to my previous employers. Can you tell a story about your career? Making it logical, making those steps make sense. And it doesn't matter if you've had career pivots. It doesn't matter if you've had time out. But making that career path really clear in your own mind in terms of the story of your career to date. Any training that you've done, any education that you've taken, again, what does that mean for your employer? What impact can that help create? What are your subject matter expertise? The other great thing to do is to really explore case studies and examples of the problems and the challenges that you've faced, how you've navigated them, how you've solved those, and what the outcome was. What's the vision for your future role? How does that align with this specific role that you're interviewing for? Because a lot of candidates, sometimes we get the feedback, they really seemed engaged and interested in the company, but not so engaged and interested in the role itself and the work itself. And so what's your secret sauce? What's your culture add? How are you going to bring the essence of who you are and your skills and your attitude to really help create positive impact? The lack of preparation for interviews is mainly the reason that we hear the candidate wasn't successful. Have you explored their website, but properly explored it? What really interests you about the work that they're doing? Is there a press release? Is there a recent piece of information that is held in that website that you were so engaged in? Look at the line managers, explore online what's going on in terms of that company. Have they got videos on YouTube from their CEO, for example? Go deeper, check out their social media, go deeper into their website, and look for really specific examples of what resonated for you. Is it their values? Was it a particular project that they worked on? Was it a video that you saw of their CEO or something on their social media that really resonated? Making sure that you are establishing a rapport with the interviewer. And that is making sure that your body language is neutral and that it's open, that you're warm and personable, that you're really looking to listen, to understand rather than response, and that we're going to understand deeper your impact. We're going to explore that too. And remembering that it's a two-way process and that your curious questioning is a really critical part of how you impress as a candidate, but actually, just as importantly, how you explore whether this is the right home for your career and whether this can be the right environment. And I've had a few comments from one of you around how to explain gaps on CVs, and I will come back to that. So please don't worry, we will cover that off, and it's hugely common. And what we will notice as we explore the world of work, we are seeing so many more examples of career pivots and so much more value now attached to individuals that have perhaps had gaps from bringing up children or for caring, because my goodness, do your skills, your resilience, your capability transform through whether it's a challenging personal situation or whether it's because you've been parenting. These are all parts of what make you unique. So it's understanding how you can draw out the learnings and how it's helped you grow as an individual and translate that to a future employer. A little tip from Amy Cuddy. So one of the ways that is most important to really shift your capability on interviewing is your ability to self-regulate. There's some different ways to do this. And what on earth do I mean by self-regulation? Well, very, very quickly, you have an amazing nerve called the vagus nerve that runs from the base of your spine deep into your gut. And that's why they call the gut the third brain. And this is responsible for our ability to breathe. So one of the big tips I would give you today before you go into your interview is to help to expand your chest, deepen your breathing, and feel your feet on the floor or your sit bones in the seat if you're sat down in the interview, and remember to breathe and remember to keep your chest open. And how do I mean? So one of Amy Cuddy's most famous TED Talks was the Superwoman or the Superman pose or the cowgirl or cowboy pose before going into a big meeting or an interview. And that was to stand with your legs hip width apart, your arms on your hips, sorry, hands on your hips, and just to allow your breath to deepen. And the main aim is for your cortisol to drop and your sense of self to grow. And You can do this all sorts of ways, but in an interview, if you find yourself feeling anxious or a little nervous, remember to breathe. And ideally your out breath a little longer than your in breath. And just feel your feet on the ground and your sit bones in the seat. And it would just allow a moment of self-regulation. And remember, there is power in a pause. It's okay to pause in an interview if you need to gather yourself, because that in itself demonstrates a real sense of understanding and professionalism. There are 5 things that most employers are seeking. And if you know this, you can prepare great examples around how you demonstrate this skill. You can look at how that skill has created impact in the roles that you've been in before. And you can use those examples to really convince an employer of your subject matter expertise, of your ability to grow and learn. And these are things like coachability, my ability to assimilate feedback and to take knowledge on board and use it to help me improve what I'm capable of delivering. Emotional intelligence, my ability to self-regulate and also recognize and act appropriately in terms of how others are currently experiencing their own challenges around, perhaps they're feeling stressed or they are under a lot of pressure, under a lot of deadlines, tired. My ability to self-regulate, but also recognize and act appropriately to others' emotions. Accountability, a big one. How do I demonstrate that I take personal responsibility for what goes on in my circle of control? How do I solve problems? Now, problem solving is going to be one of the most critical tools that we have as human beings, as alongside emotional intelligence and creativity, that employers are going to be looking for more and more. How do you work with change? How do you solution find? How do you self-motivate? Which is the next. Because again, especially in a mix of hybrid or fully remote roles, it is absolutely critical that you are able to very clearly demonstrate how you self-motivate. It is not up to others to motivate us. It is up to ourselves to have the toolbox to deliver that. And that can come from a sense of purpose, a determination to deliver your role and be of ultimate service. It may come from being highly motivated to deliver impact. Whatever it is, what is it about you that you know you dig deep into when things are tough or challenging, or something happens in an organization that's outside of their control and they really need that team to pull together? And the next is temperament. Who I am and how I show up every day. For me, I'm high energy, I'm very passionate, I'm extremely hardworking, I'm super resilient, and I'm very good at regulating my own emotions, mostly. We're all human, we're all imperfectly perfect, but who are you? What's your temperament? How do others experience you? And how can you demonstrate that on interview? So ask yourself in your interviews, how am I showing up? Am I making sure that I'm not revealing anything inappropriate about my previous bosses or company? Am I making sure that I speak positively and that I demonstrate how I've noticed and used the learnings from my roles or organizations? How am I demonstrating that I create partnerships and I'm somebody that has high integrity, so you can trust me with your company and and this role and who I'm supporting or who I'm reporting into? Am I really listening to understand rather than respond? So some of the things that I think really help in interviews to be truly present. So if a thought pops into your mind, which they do all the time, just allow it to drift off. being positive about your previous experiences and what you took away from them, even the most challenging ones, showing that we own our power. And lots of people can be really uncomfortable with the word power because we can feel that it's associated with negative things. But when I share with you the word power, what I mean is our desire to create impact positively. And do I have passion for what I'm able to deliver, for my skills, for what I'm looking to achieve in my next role? There's a couple of main types of interviews, and these are unstructured or structured. So unstructured is a chat. It's a conversation, and you need to make sure that you know as much as you can what sort of interview you're going to be delivered or you're going to experience. Ask if it's through ourselves as a recruiter, ask us. If it's direct with the employer, ask them in advance. What should I prepare for? Is this an unstructured interview? Is it a behavioral interview? If it's a performance-based interview? Because that will really help you to do the right kind of preparation. And I've shared with you here what a structured interview looks like. So an unstructured is chat. Tell me about yourself. Let's go through your CV. What are you looking for? Or a structured interview tends to be called competency-based interviews or behavioral interviews or performance-related interviews. And they're considered to be the gold standard, but lots of people still now use unstructured interviews. But knowing what to expect really helps us to prepare effectively. One of the big things I'd love for you to take away today is your interview toolkit. What on earth is this? So this could be prepared online. It might be something physical, but these are the things that are going to help you to get yourself into the very best state of mind before an interview. So your interview toolkit might contain a reference that you received years ago that just said wonderful things about you. It might contain an affirmation if somebody that believes in affirmation. It might contain a bit of dark chocolate if that helps you just before an interview. It might contain a picture of a loved one, anything that's going to help you get into the right headspace. It could be anything that's individual to you that gives you that sense of self, your worth, that helps get you into the right mindset. Whether it's just a little card that says, remember to breathe, whatever it is, or remember you are more than enough. Whatever it is that will help you get into the right headset, prepare an interview toolkit. I've got one candidate that has a lucky outfit that she always wears because it just makes her feel fabulous. I have somebody else that has this huge interview toolkit that really helps them get in the right mindset. Everything from affirmations to a rollerball of essential oils that's peppermint, because peppermint's great at sharpening the mind and the focus. Whatever it is, someone's just sharing they always wear a specific lipstick. Whatever makes you feel good. Visualizing success is also really key. An uplifting playlist. I mean, awesome. Using an uplifting playlist to get you in the right mindset. Whatever it may be, don't dismiss an interview toolkit. So how do we demonstrate active listening techniques when we're in the interview? Nodding, reflecting back. So what's reflecting back? It's saying, so can I just understand this is what you're looking for from this individual? It may be an appropriate But one of the ways that we can self-sabotage an interview is talking over the interviewer, not demonstrating that we're really engaged and interested. Perhaps our eyes are wandering or our body language says otherwise, if it's slumped in our chair or we're looking elsewhere, or we're not demonstrating that we are engaged. And active listening techniques are a really powerful way. Body language. So I say, stay like Sweden, neutral. Don't lean too far forward. Don't lean too far back. Stay neutral. And just remember that you are interviewing them as much as they are interviewing you. Why does this matter in body language? Well, what often happens in an interview is we place this person on a pedestal up here and we put ourselves here. Whereas what we want to do is we want to meet in the middle. We want to say, I'm okay, you're okay. And I'm looking forward to creating a connection. I'm looking forward to sharing space with you. I'm looking forward to sharing some of who I am and getting to know you and your organization better. So our body language will be really key to demonstrating that I'm okay and you're okay. So making sure that you are holding that presence and that you are staying neutral. Hands either sort of, you know, don't over talk with your hands. And remember about what you have to add, your secret sauce. How am I going to enhance the culture? What is it about me that my colleagues know I have brought? Is it my particular passion for food, or is it my knowledge of film? Is it that I am just somebody that stays super positive and optimistic? What am I going to bring to add and enhance this culture with? This is a great exercise. So one of the things that really helped me when I was looking to build a deep confidence rather than an outward confidence, and basically a deep confidence is I'm okay, and that what you think of me is none of my business as long as I'm showing up with integrity in the world. It means that not everyone will like me, and that's okay. Not everyone wants to be my friend, and that's okay. That I can't please everybody, and that's okay. That's self-trust. And what my coach asked me to do is to write 20 things about what makes me uniquely me. And I would ask you to do the same thing, because all of this ability to recognize who we are and our zones of genius and our little quirks helps us to develop self-trust over and above that negative voice that says, well, who are you to say that? Who are you to share your zones of genius? Who are you to share that piece of feedback, that inner critic? And all of these aspects help us to dial up our inner cheerleader, because we have both. And sometimes we forget that we have an inner cheerleader because it's way easier. Our brains are hardwired to focus on the negative. Doing your research, I'm going to mention this again, is critical, and doing it in depth. Find the bits that connect with you most about either their values, about projects, about what they're delivering for the world. Don't just look at the first couple of pages of a website and think that's enough. There are tons of questions. There are tons of questions that you can ask on interview. Now, the good news is we are going to share with you a list of questions that we share with employers after today. And if you're watching this on playback, you'll be able to download it. We are going to share with you a list of questions to ask recruiters, HR, line managers, and also peers. So perhaps if you are an office manager and you're meeting the existing office manager, or if you're global head of HR and you're meeting the existing global head of HR, we're going to ask, we've got some great questions for peers too. All of those will be with you today. And we didn't want to spend lots of time on those in this session because those are easy things to read. And you can drop me a line, an email with questions, queries, anything you like. But one of the things that I say to everybody, don't forget to ask this question. Is there anything about my experience at the end of the interview that I can provide more clarity on or provide more insight into that would help with the hiring decision? Great question. Because in that instance, they may ask you something they've been questioning that they may leave out if they don't. And ask them about them. Get curious. What was the reason you joined the organization? How have you experienced development here? What is it that you enjoy most about the culture? How do you see the values being lived out in the organization every day? What are the main goals that your team has? What are the main challenges that you're currently facing? You might even ask, how do you celebrate success here? There are so many different ones, but we're going to share all of those. Part of the preparation is looking into the job description for the 5 key competencies that seem to be most important. What's repeated? What has an exclamation mark on the job description? What are they saying about the skills and competencies? Prep for those examples, share, knowing very clearly what examples back up the fact that you have that competency. We're going back to unstructured interviews now. That question, tell me about yourself. It's a question that is very powerful if you prep for it well. So tell me about yourself. The best way to answer it is what I've been doing. What's my career look like? Now, where I'm at, and what makes me unique and well qualified. And then looking at how your contribution could support the business and its goals. Because often what we happen when we get that question, tell me about yourself, is we sort of move into that kind of chatty thing, but we want to make sure that you've got this elevator pitch really ready to go. And the brilliant thing about this kind of preparation is it gives us a self-esteem boost. It gives us that confidence that we know we're going to be able to deliver. And one of the things that I strongly recommend, it will be deeply uncomfortable for the vast majority of you, is to record yourself answering some of these questions and making sure that your answers are authentically you. What really matters to you? What are your values? How do you want to leave? What legacy do you want to leave as you go through your career and your life? Get connected to that deeper why. What matters to you? Why do you do what you do? What is it about what you do that's unique to you? And why does it matter? The other things that you can share with an interviewer is obviously, please make sure you thank them for their time at the end of the interview. Let them know that you're interested, that you're really engaged in this process. Or perhaps just say, do you know what, I really enjoyed learning about X or Y. Thank you so much for your time. You can do this as well in a thank you note. I think thank you notes are underutilized as a way of helping to demonstrate that you are professional in your written communication, that you have really noticed something about the alignment between your skills and the role itself. Making sure that you either end the interview in a powerful way is just as important to prep for as that very first impression and the content in the interview. So how are you wrapping up that interview? How do you follow up from the interviewer? You may well, if you're using and partnering with a recruiter like ourselves, you may well say, I'd really love you to share this note with the interviewer. For goodness sake, make sure it hasn't got any typos. I'm sure that goes without saying. But that piece around accuracy is also critical. We now see more and more CVs with grammatical errors, misuse of with capitals, not enough care and attention in terms of making sure that you've presented your key skills or your key achievements, which give brilliant talking points in the interview. So we want to make sure that you have the best possible CV, and we at CNC use a CV formatting service to make sure that everyone has an equal opportunity to secure an interview when we send over our CVs to a client, for example. But it's also up to you to make sure that you are demonstrating that too. So what if it hasn't gone so well? What do we do then? Well, in my experience, what tends to happen is if it hasn't gone so well, we either dismiss the feedback because we're frustrated or fed up that it didn't go so well, and we don't use it as a learning tool, or we make it mean something negative about ourselves, that it must mean I am a failure, or I'm not good enough, or I'm never going to get the kind of role I want. We have to really work on managing that piece, because you are often your very worst critic, and actually being compassionate to ourselves through an interview process and looking for a new role is really important. It's a huge deal. And remember that they chose to meet you. So that was already a win. What can you learn and reflect on? How can you use that experience to understand more about what matters to you, and more about perhaps what you need to work on for the next interview? Is there some feedback that would be useful that you can really be open to hearing that may help? And remembering that it is just an interview. It's not the end, it's not the be all and end all. Feels it at the time. And where else can we delve when we're putting together our questions for this great opportunity that we're excited about? We want to know more about what will I be doing on a day-to-day basis? How does the team communicate? How does the team operate together when it's at its optimum? What are the core goals of that team at the moment? What's the bigger picture for the business? Where's it headed? How does this role fit into that? The values and how they're lived out. And where's my 30% stretch from where I'm at to where I want to be out of the next role? So what I mean about the 30% stretch is, you are right. We are slightly out of sync. I'm so sorry. There we go. What aspects should you delve into? So you need to make sure that you are looking at the features of the job, the team, the department, the strategy of the business, the values of the business, and the impact, the growth, and the challenge. What are the core mistakes that we so often make or hear about in an interview? Being unprepared, lack of interest that's demonstrated in the role, not being appropriately dressed, talking too much or not enough, being critical of previous employers, or perhaps not asking the right questions or failing to ask any questions. That's one that comes up all the time. They didn't ask any questions, didn't seem very interested. Or responding that actually I've had all my questions answered. And every single person that you meet is investing their time in you. So make sure that you invest appropriately. I hope that that has been useful. And I apologize if a couple of those slides are out of sync, but I hope that you've still been able to take away what's most important for you that you can utilize. So I'd love to know in the chat what's been useful and what questions do you have that I could answer. I'm glad that's been useful. Thank you. So one of the questions that's come up is about a career gap. And for many reasons, most of us experienced, especially as you get to where I'm at in my career, or for most of you that have had perhaps more than 5 years work experience, there may have been a gap. So the gaps in CVs, it's about utilizing those as the superpower that makes you unique. So what do I mean by that? So, well, what I mean by that is, I've just lost my Zoom. Here I am. Let's see. Okay. So what do I mean by, and Pippa, it may be helpful for you to hop out of the presentation actually, just so that I think we've just got a big view of your square. I don't know if everyone agrees with me. But it may be happy for you to, I don't know if Pippa can hear. Thanks. Okay. That's better. Okay, so just for some questions, I just want the opportunity to connect with you a little bit more. What do we do with career gaps? Well, I think because of historically, career gaps were viewed quite negatively, weren't they? And if you had time out for caring or an illness, or as mothers, fathers, or parents, or those of us that for another reason needed time out of work, it can feel like a really daunting thing to have to share with an employer. Well, I would flip that totally on its head, because I truly believe that the gaps that we have in our careers, we can look and delve into those experiences and demonstrate how that means I can create more impact, that I have more self-awareness, that I have a greater skill set to offer. And I genuinely do believe that companies have evolved and really understand that. Because if I have been a carer, for example, it shows commitment, it shows resilience, it demonstrates resourcefulness, deep empathy. So I would certainly look at gaps and think, what did I learn? What did I take away? How can I show that to an employer that actually that period of my life is going to enhance what I'm able to bring to you? So certainly in terms of our mindset around those gaps, it's about having that ability to see it as a real benefit for the employer, not something to be nervous about explaining. I hope that's been a little bit helpful. What other questions do we have? Okay, so somebody said, how do you recommend researching individual interviewers? Is there a point where general research looks like cyber stalking? So for me, I would look in the main spaces that are professional. YouTube would be number one. The second would be looking on LinkedIn, and also Wikipedia, if that's appropriate in terms of the level of the individual, and their own website. I certainly wouldn't be going on to somebody or trying to find somebody's personal Instagram or Facebook or TikTok. So I would look at those professional homes and have a good personal research there. Somebody else has asked the question. The feedback I've had from a few interviews has been the other candidates seemed like they wanted it more. How do I portray that I wanted the role most? Through the questions that you ask, which need to be role specific or team specific. Through reflecting back why that's something that really resonates with you. What is it about what they've just mentioned that really matters to you? Coming across as passionate and engaged throughout the interview, through smiling, through nodding, through making sure that you seem really engaged, and that, especially if you're online, that you're not looking at emails and that you're not looking elsewhere, that you're truly engaged. What's the next question? Okay, so somebody's asking more about the recording that I mentioned earlier about confidence. We'll share that with you, don't worry. You'll have access to that, or you can go on to CNC Academy and it's there, it's completely free. You are welcome to go there. And you can follow me on LinkedIn as well, so you can make sure that I'm able to share any information. Just find me Lucy Chamberlain, ACTPH. Okay, great. What's a good answer to why do you want this job? For me, it's making sure that you demonstrate what you're going to enjoy about that role on a day-to-day basis, what is connected with your career goals and that role itself, perhaps letting them know also that your values are such a great match with the organization itself. But for me, I think it's really demonstrated that you are going to enjoy on a day-to-day basis the role itself. Okay, so okay. Why is it so difficult to get feedback after interviews despite constantly asking? Okay. I think there's two reasons for this. I think one is sometimes individuals are nervous to share feedback because they don't know how that feedback will be received. And other times, I think it's laziness. But I think genuinely asking the recruiter to secure some pointers from the interview that you can utilize is really key. And I know that that's something that comes up for lots and lots and lots of people. Okay. Feedback has been coming back as positive with no negatives, just someone had more experience. Oh, yes, okay. And that can feel defeating, can't it? Because you think, well, what on earth am I going to be able to do with that? But I do think pushing back and saying, I'd love a couple of pointers from my interview, or I'd love some specific feedback about what I did well in the interview and what I could do better moving forward. And actually asking and just pushing back a little bit that you need some more specifics. It is totally illegal to ask if you have children. So somebody just said, somebody asked me if I have children. It is illegal. Well, I am wishing you loads of luck with your interviews. Is there any last questions in the last few minutes of today's session? Any last questions? Okay. Head on over, if you have time, career changes. Again, okay, that's exactly, it's really, really similar. If you are looking, and it is always more challenging to secure career changes when we are in a contracted market. What I would say to you about career changes is looking at the job description that you're interviewing for, looking at your previous experience and creating the link. So when you're making sure that they are really clear that the skills that you have demonstrated, even though the role may have been different, align with the skills that are needed for the role. For me, being concise in an interview is the preparation. What I did, how I did it, the impact it made. Or look at the STAR response, the situation, the task, the action, and the result. But for me, it is preparing those results and making sure I think about 2 or 3 sentences for what the situation was, what I did, what the outcome was. And if you stick to about 2 or 3 sentences for each of those, and then be prepared for any deep diving or probing, that's about right. Why are you leaving your current job? Okay, also an interesting one. I think it needs to be aligned with personal growth, commitment to utilizing your skills, commitment to developing those skills, or working in an environment where there is stronger alignment in terms of values. It's about making it positive and connecting it with who you're interviewing with. Employers really don't want to listen to you being negative about previous employers. It's a red flag. So it's looking forward. How do employers view redundancy? I think they view it as an unfortunate part of economic cycles. And it's not, again, it's making sure that you take all of the positives and the learning and demonstrate how you're going to bring those to the new employer. There are lots of key competencies. So if you look, somebody's just saying, how do we prepare the answers to scenarios if we don't know what the questions will be? Well, generally speaking, people are going to ask questions about core competencies, ability to deliver under pressure, or teamwork skills, communication. So if you prepare for the core competencies, or certainly if you look at the skills on the job description, then that's a great place to go. Yeah, so somebody else has asked a really, really relevant question, is how to present a logical career path when several job changes are due to circumstances, caring, responsibilities, or redundancy. Not always choice, absolutely. So for me, that is creating a story. So it might be, I had the most incredible 2.5 years as head of operations at JD Williams. I so enjoyed that experience. I took so much from it. I then had the opportunity and the necessity to look after my mother in her final couple of years, or whatever it might have been. And that was an incredible challenge. And what I took from that and learned from it was this: when I re-entered the world of work, I took on a role as X. Then, due to COVID, I lost my job. What I did as a result of that was this. So it doesn't matter that it's logical. It matters that you can share the story so that it makes sense. I hope that helps Fiona a little bit. Good. Okay. Well, I have loved being with you all. And thank you for so many questions. I've probably got time for one more. Oh, written tests. I'm so sorry. I mean, all I would say about written tests is to go on SHL and do some practices. SHL do have practice assessments, and you can go there. All right. Well, look, you've all been amazing. Thank you for being so engaged. If you're watching this as a replay, thank you for taking the time out. I hope it's been helpful. And I'm really, really glad that I have got to get to know you a little bit as well. So have an awesome rest of your day. Remember, you're more than enough as you are. And 90% of doing well in interviews is just trusting yourself that you have something of value to offer. Pleased to be with you all, and take care and speak soon.